Content marketing is one of the key ways that you can drive growth for your B2B SaaS business. But here's the thing though, content marketing has to be done the right way. If you do it the wrong way, you'll just get a bunch of likes or you'll get a bunch of crickets. But if you do it the right way, it'll actually convert to real pipeline and real revenues for your business. So on this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the 3 principles that you absolutely need to know on how to do content marketing that actually works, that actually drives growth for your SaaS business. And when you implement these 3 principles, you will be able to accelerate your path to that next stage of growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help B2B and SaaS founders like you grow your businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics on how to grow your SaaS and B2B business faster. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. For the first 10 years of my career as a founder, I did content marketing by blogging. For the next 10 years, I expanded the content marketing to LinkedIn, to YouTube, to Twitter, and other places where you can actually post content and reach your ideal customers. My last company, ToutApp, amassed 100,000 users using the platform. My company, Unstoppable, this company, is fast approaching 100,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel alone. So here's the big question. How do you actually do content marketing the right way? I've learned a ton around what works when it comes to content marketing, and I've developed a framework that actually helps you approach it in the right way. So in this episode, I'm gonna break it down into 3 principles that you absolutely need to know to crush the content marketing game and drive growth for whether it's your B2B business or your B2B SaaS business. This works either way because I've operated both. So if you're excited to dig into principle number 1, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's dig right into it. All right, principle number 1, before we think about what you want to post and what you want to put out there, the first thing you have to understand about content marketing, which is true for any sort of marketing, is first think in terms of the buyer. Not about what you want to post and what you think is cool, but what your buyer really cares about. So principle number 1 is to understand the buyer journey. And there are a lot of things that can be said about the buyer journey, but the big thing that you need to understand for this principle is that your target market, the market that you're selling into, your ideal customers, can basically be broken down into 2 segments. There's this segment, which is about 3% of your market, and there's this segment, which is about 97%, the rest of your market, 97% of your market. This 3% is buying now, meaning they understand what the problem you solve is. They understand they need to solve it. They've prioritized it, and they're getting out there trying to figure out which one is the right solution. At any given moment, only 3% of your target market, of your ideal market, doesn't matter what industry you're in, is actively in the buying phase. Everybody else is either doesn't know about the problem, which is up over here, or kind of knows about the problem but doesn't want to prioritize solving it yet, or they're starting to research it, or they're starting to inch towards making it a priority so they can actually enter the buying phase. That's 97% of the market. When you're thinking about doing content marketing, you really want to understand about these 2 different segments of the market, because you'll want to create content that directly speaks in guiding your ideal customers from going from not being aware of the problem at all the way to getting to the point where they're ready to buy. That is principle number 1. That is the first thing you want to understand. If there's one summary bullet point that I could put for principle number 1, the biggest thing you need to understand about content marketing is it's not about what content you want to post. It's more about what content will truly serve your ideal customers as they're going through this buyer journey. Once you have understand principle number 1 and you start to internalize, okay, I need to post content that they care about based on where they are in the journey, the second principle that we want to dig into is defining your content journey. So what you want to do is, knowing this buyer journey, you want to map your content to stages of this buyer journey, and that's what you want to be posting. This is why a lot of times folks will hire an agency or a fractional CMO that can't get a real CMO job, and they'll tell them like, I want to do content marketing. And they'll of course take your money and say, we will totally do content marketing for you. But 3 months will pass, 6 months will pass. I was talking to a client, 18 months has passed, and they've gotten 0 leads and 0 revenue from the entire initiative. But every single time they'll talk to the agency or the fractional CMO that can't get a real CMO job, they say, look at all these impressions and look at all these likes. People really like you. And you're like, well, I'm paying you, but I'm not making any money back. That's not marketing, that's running a charity. What you really want to understand is, given this buyer journey, you actually want to draft your content journey mapped to the buyer journey. There's 3 broad buckets that I like to create content around. The first one is identifying the problem. You really want to go in and teach your ideal customers about this problem that exists and why they need to do something about it. What you're essentially doing is educating them about the problem that you solve. You're not talking about the solution yet. You're not talking about why your product is the best. What you're really doing for these pieces of content is highlighting this tall part of this audience where they just don't even know that this is a problem and that needs to be solved yet. That's the first bucket of content that you want to be creating. The second bucket of content that you want to be creating is how to research solutions around the problem. Again, this is not so much about we are the best at solving this problem. It's more about, if you are thinking about solving this problem, here are the 5 things you need to consider, or here are the 10 things you need to be researching, or here are the 8 things that you need to know. You'll notice that I have a lot of videos on this channel, and every single time what I'm really sharing is the big things that you really need to know as you're looking to solve a certain problem. Other times I'm really talking about the key problem that SaaS founders or B2B founders deal with, so I can educate them about it. That's what I've done forever in terms of content marketing, and it still works today really, really well. And that's what you want to be doing. You really want to be doing content that helps your ideal customers identify the problem, or you want to be doing content that helps them research the solution without leading them right to, hey, you should totally buy our solution, because that comes later. These 2 buckets of content, if we were to really identify and bucket these, they're really going to solve for this segment of the market. This is the 97% of the market that isn't buying right now. They aren't buying yet. They haven't prioritized buying yet. They're barely convinced that this is the real problem to be solving. The segment of the market that is already convinced, that are already now researching, they kind of know what the options are and are prioritizing doing something about it, is this 3% of the market. And that 3% of the market is where this third bucket of content comes in. The third bucket of content is about choosing the right solution. So let's just say you are in an incredibly crowded market like the CRM market. There's probably 1,000 CRM products out there, but the number 1 CRM product is Salesforce and the number 2 is HubSpot. But yet there are plenty of CRM companies that are actually generating real revenues. How do they go about doing content marketing? Well, all the way at the top stages, they'll help you identify the fact that, look, if you have a whole bunch of deals and you're losing a bunch of deals and you're not managing it properly, you're hiring more people, you need a CRM. That's how you identify the problem and agitate the problem and teach them like this is a real problem that you need to be solving for. The good news is, in an industry like CRM, so much marketing dollars has already gone in, especially by the big guys. A lot of people start to get educated on a CRM pretty easily. The second bucket of content is, how do you actually research the right solutions? This is where a CRM company that's in a very crowded space like CRM could actually differentiate themselves. If you are a CRM provider going after a very specific type of industry, then you can create content that speaks specifically to the challenges that exist for that industry. So if you're doing a CRM product only for real estate agents and to work their deals, then you can talk about specific ways you can research the right solutions only for real estate agents. This is where a go-to-market strategy really comes in, that really defines what type of content you're going to be creating as you look at these 3 buckets. Now, if you're in the CRM space serving real estate agents and you're a CRM just for real estate agents, then for this third bucket, you're going to be creating content on exactly why you are the right solution for agents, especially real estate agents. You'll be talking about the specific features that really serve them so they can make you as the priority provider as they go through their evaluation process. So these are the 3 buckets that you really want to align around when you are building your content strategy and you're starting to put content out there. A lot of times folks skip this part and they don't actually know who they're targeting and they're not really thinking about their differentiated message, which is why you get a bunch of likes or you get crickets and you don't get actual pipeline and you don't get actual revenue. Now, before I go to principle number 3, and I'm actually gonna do a bonus one that really nails in how you can actually generate leads and pipeline versus just get a bunch of likes. But before I get into all of that, let me just pause here for a second. I already starting to see the power in this. There's a huge difference between just using a random AI tool and posting a bunch of content, or hiring an agency or a fractional CMO that can't get a real CMO job and just paying them to post random content for you versus thinking about a proper content strategy. Also, I don't know about you, but it was really eye-opening to me when I first learned about this 3% and 97% thing. The fact that 3%, only 3% of the market is actively buying and the rest is just like not even aware of the problem or not even researching is crazy to me. So thinking in terms of this framework of what am I doing to serve the broader audience that are just like not buying it, and how do I educate them so that I can get them to the point of buying? And then thinking about how do I actually reach the people that are buying and how do I give them content so they choose me? That was eye-opening to me. That alone really clarified how I go about creating content to drive growth for my businesses, whether it was Tout App or it's Unstoppable. Either way, we apply these principles. So if you're starting to see the power in this, you're starting to see the power of thinking about content through this lens, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. Also, content marketing is part of a small piece of the puzzle of your broader go-to-market strategy. So if you're looking to drive growth for your B2B and your SaaS business, I encourage you to grab a complimentary copy of my 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. It's an incredible guide and it gives you an overarching view of how to drive growth for your company. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this episode. I'll link to it in the description below. Let's go to principle number 3 and then the bonus one on how to actually make sure you generate leads and pipeline, and that drives through revenue. So principle number 3 is I want to actually break this down even more to the specific kinds of content that you should be creating for these 3 buckets. So for this bucket where you're still a part of this 97%, and they're still trying to understand that there's a problem and there's a solution for it and think about the solution and how to go about it. For this, what you really want to do is educational content. You're not trying to sell them on anything. This is called education marketing, and my mantra on this is to out-teach the competition versus outspending them. The type of content you really want to create should come from a place of service. You should really understand your ideal customer, and you should create content that educates them about everything you know about this market and the problem and the solutions that exist. It should come from a place of really sharing your knowledge, sharing what you've learned, sharing the reason on why you even created your company, talking about the transformation, and really educating them so that they start to trust you and they start to get value from you long before they realize that you actually have the solution for them. This is super powerful because all over the place, if a buyer is not ready to buy yet and you go around telling them like, hey, do you want software for this? They're like, no, I don't need software for any of this. Please leave me alone. But if you go and approach them and talk about the problems they might be facing, the common challenges, how to think about those problems, if you educate them about this, then they'll be more receptive to your content. And guess what? This is super powerful because by the time they move from this stage of not knowing about the problem all the way down to the buying phase, if you do this right and you invest in this, then you will be able to be at the top of their list by the time they're considering buying. This is super important because a lot of times people will say, look, content won't get me leads today. Well, that's wrong, and I'll talk about that in the bonus step. But what's more important is those leads may not buy right now, but by the time they buy, they are more likely to buy from you because you have already educated them and given them value. So the key here in this stage of the marketing funnel is to really create educational content where you're out teaching the competition versus trying to outsell them or outspend them with ads. Now, once you have gotten to this phase where they're choosing the right solution, so this is over here, this phase where you really want to be focusing on is customer success stories. This is super powerful. instead of just going out there and saying, hey, here are our features, here's why we're the best, you should buy from us, while you should do that, at the same time, the type of content that really pulls in this 3% of the market that's actively in market and looking are success stories. Because if your customers are getting out there and sharing their success stories using your product and how they solve the problem, that creates a type of dual flanked content. It creates a type of content that's educating this segment of the market on the problems they faced, and it's educating this segment of the market on why the solution they chose solved all of their problems, which increases the trust level even more so that they're more likely to buy from you. This is super powerful, and this is almost like elite level stuff. I wish someone sat down TK, baby TK, when he was first starting in the content game and showed him this. Educational content attracts us 97% of the market that's not ready to buy. They don't even know that the problem should be a top priority. When you couple that with customer success content, case studies, interviews, success stories, it creates this dual flanked where you're not only continuing to educate this segment of the market, but you're also reaching this segment of the market that are actively looking for the right solution. All right, so that's principle number 3. Principle number 3, it's all about publishing the right content. When you do both of these kinds of content, educational content where you're teaching them, and customer success content where you're showing the proof points, this automatically serves both segments of the market and really creates a funnel going into your sales team. And by the time they're showing up on sales calls, marketing has done a lot of the heavy lifting on building trust, talking about your unique differentiation. You've already provided so much value. And that way, for the salespeople involved, whether you're doing the sales or you have an entire sales team, everything becomes that much easier through the sales process. And that's what true marketing is all about. True marketing is one to many, whereas sales is one to one. One to many, these kind of systems helps nurture a whole group of people so that by the time they come to a one-to-one call in your sales process, they've already been educated and they're already leaning towards buying for you. That's where marketing and sales go hand in hand. If you take all this away and the first conversation they're having is with the salesperson with no marketing involvement at all, then it's a lot more heavier of a lift by the time they've gotten to this phase, because chances are your competition was already educating them when they were up over here. And sure, they might be talking to you, but the chances of you winning a deal is that much lower because they already trust the other guy because they've gotten so much value already. Now comes the bonus part. The bonus part, the question you might be wondering is, TK, how do I make sure this right content drives towards actual leads? Now remember, these leads may not convert right away, but if you get these leads when they're super early in their journey and you continue to nurture them, by the time they enter the buying phase, they're gonna be buying from you. So it's super important that for all the pieces of content that you're putting out there, you actually convert them to leads versus just likes. This is where it goes back to those really terrible agencies that tell you, you got 10,000 impressions. And you're like, cool, who were they? And they're like, oh, we don't know. Here's a dashboard. Or the fractional CMO that didn't even get you that, but still is taking your money because they can't get a real CMO job. This is the bonus tip you wanna do so you hold everyone accountable. What you really wanna do is for all the pieces of content, you always wanna offer your manifesto. Now, if you are a regular viewer of this channel, I talk about building a manifesto all the time. If you are not, don't worry. The whole idea behind a manifesto is this central strategic narrative. It's this guide that you can offer that truly educates your potential buyers about the transformation that you offer. What you wanna be doing is for all these pieces of content, you wanna make sure that at the end of it, or in the comments, or in your profile, you're driving them to become a lead by downloading your guide. This does two things. One, it actually gets them into your database so that you can start to nurture them as they go through this buying journey. Two, that piece of content accelerates their path. When done right, it accelerates their path to getting into the buying phase because you can influence them through your content, through this in-depth content on getting them to the buying phase by educating them in a deeper way. That's why this manifesto piece is super important. You wanna make sure you always capture their email, and you also wanna make sure you nurture these people so that by the time they're getting ready to buy, they're more likely to buy from you. And this bonus tip is what really brought it all together for me. Because it's one thing to get a whole bunch of impressions, but it's another thing to get leads from your content. And once you get a lead and you have a scalable go-to-market machine, it gets to a point where you just know for every lead, you're gonna generate a certain amount of revenue. And it just becomes a game of getting more ideal leads. So that becomes super powerful. All right, so let's recap. For you to do content marketing that works, the first principle you need to know is you need to understand the buyer journey. Buyers are in different phases of their journey, but only 3% are ready to buy now. The rest either don't know about the problem or are starting to consider it or are starting to research it. So based on that, you really want to craft your content journey into 3 core buckets. The first bucket is where you're educating them about the problem and identifying it. The second is where you can help them research the solutions to the problem. And the third is you can guide them in choosing the right solution. These 3 buckets map to the different stages of the buyer journey and attracts them and guides them through that whole process. The right content to create for these 3 buckets is educational content, where you're teaching them. You want to out-teach the competition so that you're building the trust, and by the time they enter this 3% bucket, they're ready to buy from you. And your salespeople have a lot easier of a job because they've been educated on the space, the competitive differentiators, and why you're the right solution. This makes a huge difference. And to dual flank this, part of your educational content should also be customer success stories. Have your customers talk about the problem they encountered and the solution they chose, which is you, and why they were successful. This creates a dual flanked approach to educate the part of the market that doesn't know about the problem yet, but also at the same time, attracting the part of the market that is ready to buy now. And as a bonus, for all pieces of content, you want to make sure you link to your manifesto. And that way you can use your manifesto, which is your strategic narrative, which is your strategic guide, to actually educate them on the problem in a deeper way and influence their buying journey and guide them in a faster way to the purchasing stage. This is how this whole piece comes together. And now you know how to do content marketing that actually works. Now, content marketing is part of your overall go-to-market strategy. In order for all this to work, you have to know who you are actually targeting. You have to know what your messaging is. You have to know how you're going to reach them. And within that context, content marketing plugs in. So if you're in this stage where you're looking to drive growth for your B2B SaaS business, and you're looking to figure out all these pieces, then I encourage you to grab a copy of my 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. It's completely free, and inside of that guide, I go in depth into the 5 key levers you have on driving growth for your B2B SaaS company. To grab your copy, just go to getunstoppable.com/strategy. getunstoppable.com/strategy. I'll also link to it in the description below. Also, if you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. We put a lot of love into these videos. If you have a fellow founder, a team member that would get value from this video that is helping you do content marketing, please share this with them. We want to help as many founders as possible in scaling their B2B SaaS companies, and we want to share this video with them. So please share this with them. If you're part of a WhatsApp group, a Slack group, if you're part of a community with other SaaS founders and B2B founders, please share it in there as well. It would mean the world to us. Also, I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon, so you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside the 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. Go grab a copy. Take care, everybody. So if I can actually open this, there we go.